We'll make some noise for Sisters Talk About. Over to you, ladies.
Hey people, thank you for being here with us, all your beautiful faces.
As my sister cousin friend Amy said, welcome to Sisters Talk About. It's so beautiful. I'm so thankful to have you here with us. As we always say, when you come in here, check your ego at the door.
At the door.
Because when we come in here, there's no egos, there's no arguments. It's conversation and it's listening, conversation, togetherness. That's what we're about. Like we said on the flyer, bringing the black man, the black woman together. Talking and listening.
The first half, what came to us was, as a community, as black people, do we love ourselves and do we love on one another?
Do we love ourselves?
Yeah and no.
What's the yes?
The yes is like answering for myself. Because I sure do love myself and love my people. However, there's situations where I don't feel that love back.
Okay.
Like going into some situations or scenarios, and you can just feel the tense energy instead of a welcoming energy. Welcoming to the space, or I'm not expecting no bows or nothing, but a little smile.
Yeah, I hear that.
To respond to my smile, the amount of times that I've received screw face and I've categorically been told, you smile too much, and I'm like, huh? What that person didn't know is like saying something like that to me is going to make me laugh, so I pissed them off even more.
And she's laughing now. If you didn't know. And this is going to be more laughter. Everybody's supposed to be laughing at. It's supposed to be like, yeah.
But yeah, saying something like that to me just makes me laugh even more. Like, I think that's kind of like my defense mechanism. And then also, yeah, it is a defense mechanism because I'd rather just laugh than to switch. I don't like myself really when I switch. I don't like, it's not a good place to be. So, but yeah, it's just like, if I'm smiling, you don't have to give me no big grin, but something. And that has happened more than enough. And I'm like, why? Why? If we was to see other races of other people, would we treat them the same way? Do you know what I mean? Like with that over familiarity, like can just get away with that. And it's just like, why? And I have to say we, because it is we. Why are we like this? You know? Why? And I can continue to keep on asking questions. But I will stop right now.
Question from me to you. You said you smile, some you get screw face back. But you get some smiles back, right?
It's kind of like 50-50.
I would agree with it. For me, so I can interject. For me, the screw face for me comes from other women. And that's what I've noticed. It comes from other females. I'm just happy in my own little space, just smiling. And I'm just smiling at you, and especially for me, as I've from Nottingham. So when I come to London to see a black couple, to me is like, yo, this is heaven,
Yeah.
So I'm smiling, I'm like, yeah. And I'm getting screw face, I'm like, but I don't want your man. I'm just smiling because I'm glad to see the black love. It's beautiful, it's nice. Just smile with me. Sometimes, but I'm like, yeah, a lot of the time, it's from the females. And I'm like, but we're sisters, just smile. It's just a smile. Just smile, hi. When I get but like Naomi says, when I get this screw face, the smile just gets bigger. My smile just gets bigger. And something that you said as well about, what was it you said? In regards to other races. So my question is, when we're treating each other like this, it's not okay. But when we see other races treating us the same way, we're the first ones to uproar and say, no, don't do that. No, it's wrong. But then we do it to each other.
Yeah.
We shouldn't be doing it to each other at all, because if we're doing it to each other, how can we then turn around to that next white man or whatever Asian man and say, don't do that to me? We're doing it to each other. So regardless, I think we just need to fix up.
Yes.
Do we really love ourselves, really and truly deep down? Do we really love ourselves? Or do we want that validation from that man? Because a lot of the time we're seeking validation from other races. Okay, this is fine, but no, actually, let them say it's fine first, then I know it's okay. We need to stop doing that. Loving ourselves first. Loving our community first. Make us okay, make ourselves okay.
And to know, like, to understand, like, there's nothing wrong with that. We've got nothing to feel guilty of. We're not putting we are putting ourselves on a pedestal. Every single human being should be able to do that, and there shouldn't be an issue, you know? So for us to do that for and with ourselves, that should not be an issue at all. Like, to put ourselves at those high pedestals and to want more, not even just like expect, want more for ourselves, for each other, for us as individuals. Do you know what I mean? Like, strive for more. There's nothing wrong with that, because see many other people doing that, but then when it's one of us, oh, your chest too high.
Look on them.
Yeah.
I think they're too nice, innit?
Yeah. And it's just like, well, yeah, damn it.
I am nice. And my chest is high.
Right.
Thanks.
Okay, it's not a statement, it's a question. So, in terms of what you both explained, in my primary years, I went to primary school both in the UK and in the Caribbean. So I noticed that the interaction between us as a race was completely different. And I think that from an early age, a lot of us have been given negative connotations in terms of how we are as a people. So how we grow up and interact with each other in the UK and the USA is completely different from the Caribbean and African continent.
Yeah.
So, not making excuses at all for it. However, it's all part of programming and conditioning as well. So I do feel as well, as a community, we don't have enough leaders, enough elders like we used to have to reinforce the traditional ways of how we interact with each other culturally. As well, in terms of the values. A lot of that is actually lost. Because if you go to the Caribbean or you go to the African continent, you could be a stranger, you've just landed off the plane, and people are saying hello to you, people that don't know you. You know, they say good morning, they say good afternoon, they say good night. You're walking in the dark and all of a sudden someone's in front of you. They're saying good morning to you and they're smiling with you. They'll give you a mango, sugar cane, whatever it is from their backyard. We don't do that. We're suspicious of everything. Someone looks at you, what are you looking at me for? You know, so I do feel it has a lot to play to where we are, and it's getting back to basics in terms of our values as well, and you know, letting the next generation down know what those values are and making them understand that as well. So that's why I feel that is, and especially what you said about females. I think as females as well, we need to be together a lot more. Because the men are together. The men are together. I think with females, I don't know what it is, but there's a lot of divide there. A lot of divide there, unfortunately.
Yeah, we don't trust each other.
We don't trust each other, and for some reason we see that next woman as competition. They're not competition. That's my sister right there. Each one teach one. I'll help you. You step up, I step up. You step up, I step up. I'm at the top. I'm going to bring you with me. I'm not going to leave you at the bottom.
Sorry, I think the males are just as bad because me and my friend, we talk about this all the time. When we see other black males, it's like they're rocking their neck to give you a dirty look. Or to mean what you do. And I don't know what it is, this is always this kind of macho thing, like you can hold this steer the longest. You know what I'm saying? Let me stare at him till he stares away. And if you don't stare away, you know what I mean, you could meet some serious confrontations, and we get that a lot. I don't know if it's because I look young and some of these younger guys, me and them are the same age. The minute you, whatever area you're in, even when we're in our cars, if we talk about this, innit? Sometimes we'll be driving and the man will broke his neck like he's seen a nice lady, like or something. So they're staring you down. Yeah, so men are just as bad. I think the men are worse.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh wow! Wow, that is surprising. That's surprising.
Yeah.
That's just a lot. Why? Yeah.
Yeah, but as soon as you do what I call the upward nod, right, it's done. It's cool.
Yeah.
And for me more so, you want to take it? You want to speak?
Yeah.
For me more so, since I started growing my locks, it's different. People like help me out. All right, Ras, and I'm like, what? Who? Oh yeah, I remember I got the hair. But it's different. It's like there's a different level of respect. And I was saying to Fiona the other day, it's weird, but yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, I do agree with what you all are saying, especially in regards to the nod. Because if you step outside of London and you see a brother or a sister, you want to give them the nod, you know, an acknowledgement. And I remember being with my ex, we were in Bournemouth, I think it was, and we came across this guy who was walking, and my guy looked at him, but he didn't get the nod back, and he's like, oh man, you know, he was so pissed off that he didn't, oh man, he's not a true black man, he didn't nod me, man, he didn't acknowledge me, you know, so I kind of get that, but it is, I think it goes down to being ingrained that we don't trust each other, and I know we're going back 400 years, but it's still there because we sold ourselves out to others so that we could better ourselves, you know? So I think that has a lot to do with it. It's still ingrained in us. It's going to take time to come out, but we need to, like you said, one steps up and brings the other. And that brings me back to this animation I've seen of, I think is it a man climbing a tree or climbing steps or something, and you can see like another person is pushing and helping this other person to climb. And then you had the black man on the other side and he was pulling down his brother. You understand? So one was pushing up, or other cultures, ethnicities, and you had the black man pulling the other black man down. You know, it's like, well, you can't get there before me, kind of thing. You know, so we have to regulate our brains in the right. You know, we have to.
I've never recognised that.
You would be
side.
I know.
Yeah.
You know why? Because when you see man are always giving each other the nod.
Yeah. And I've never heard a guy really say that.
But what's the meaning of it? I don't know what the meaning of the nod.
What's the meaning? What's the meaning of the nod?
No, the nod, the stare. What's the meaning? As in what? Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
That's what I understand.
Yeah.
It seems like it's
a confrontation.
thingy. Yeah.
It's confrontation.
Yeah.
Fight another brother.
Yeah, it depends on the age group.
Yeah, that as well. But I think it's different in terms of with women, in terms of the way how you guys are speaking about how women are. It's a different type of it's a competition thing. But I also think it's because we didn't really have much representation growing up of seeing a lot of black people winning on TV and stuff like that. So all of that kind of stuff also goes into how we see ourselves.
Yeah.
We're not represented in a positive way.
Yeah.
Very true.
I think that's what the youngsters think. I don't know your name. But you know, so, yeah, as I said, this is all about love. I brought it back up, yeah? Cool. So, basically, I feel what he's saying. When I was young growing up, there was much more love. You know, there's not the carnival, we had a lot of stuff in the 60s, 70s, not to give away my age, but, yeah? Anyway, Jackie, back me up, brother. So So basically, I'm just saying that, you know, times have changed, but when we were growing up, you know, we had a lot of challenges, racism, sexism, whatever you call it, that the man had to go through and understand what it was to be a man, what it was to be a woman, you know? We had unity, but growing up with this internet generation, there's a divide, man and woman are at war. We need to acknowledge that. As much as we say, you know, love, there's a lot of hate. So we've got to, you know, distinguish between those two as well. You know, I think with the older generation, the men will give the nod. The youngsters, they're a little bit more challenging. You give them a nod, some of them don't even, what's that? You know? So it depends on your awareness and your cultural awareness of what you understand about what's going around at this present time. But you know, it doesn't stop us from loving each other. And I think, you know, you sisters continue to smile, because you know what, the people may be scared but they're confused. And you're showing them love. And that's what Black Love is about. And you know, that's what our ancestors taught us. And I agree with what points you made here. We need to go back to that, you know. And if you can smile back, you're coming from an ancestral place, which is love.
Definitely.
So I think, you know, let's continue to do that regardless. You know, we have to lead our people out the darkness to see the light.
Yeah, I think that a lot of it is to do with consumption. And I think there's a lot of things that's in the foods now that chemically make people react a different way. I think visually what people are consuming, you know, like trauma, it's always, every film we watch is gang related, and that's what we want to see. So what we're listening to is the same thing we're consuming, and I think what's inside would eventually come out. You know what I'm saying? And like I used to talk to Orlando quite a while ago, and we used to say, you know what, maybe it's poverty, but we know people who've seen different countries with far more poverty, and it's not the same kind of vibe, or, you know what I'm saying, a community thing, you know what I mean? So I definitely think people are just consuming a lot of the wrong things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would agree with that, definitely. Because I think if you take it back simply to the tribes in Africa, they have nothing. They're happy. They're doing what they're doing. Hunting, they're happy with that. But we're here with all that we have, that's at our fingertips, everything that we have, we're still not happy and we're still hating on each other.
Well, I would say that, I mean, I don't know what it was like in London because I lived in London. But back in the day, I remember growing up and that nod and everything was normal.
Yeah.
Like, you see a black person and it was like, and even when you see an elderly black person, you say hello because you thought she knew your mom or your grandma or something.
Yeah. Respect.
And yet, even if you was doing something bad, you just stopped what you was doing. Yeah, because you just know it's going to get reported back, and you know what I mean? So, but now, especially with the younger males, because their enemies look like them from other areas, I think that they're always on the guard looking to see, okay,
right.
they're looking for someone that looks like them, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So anyone who looks like them is like a potential threat to them in terms of the males that they're looking at. But yeah, I mean, like I said, growing up in, well, I'm not going to say the years, but yeah, growing up.
You ain't old.
I just remember, like, it was normal to just see a black person and say hello.
Yeah.
And the only time I've ever felt that recently is when I've been to Jamaica or when I've been in Africa. That's the only time I've had that. But I don't get that here at all. And now it's pure hostility.
Yeah.
And I think with the boys, it's more easy. And I think sometimes black women can do it to the man them, you know, because they're looking thinking, yo, he's gonna chop me up, he's gonna chop me up, you know what I'm saying? There's a bit of a mad vibe going on.
Yeah, since moving to London, well, yeah, the person that told me I smile too much is when I first moved to London. I'm originally from Nottingham, and I can remember my ex, like, yeah, after the incident, he was just like, yeah, welcome to London. Like, I said good morning to somebody, and this woman, she switched, she's like, what do you mean good morning? I'm like, because it's morning and it's good. So hi. Do I know you though? No, not quite. Why are you talking to me? Because I felt like it, and it's morning, and it feels good, and I wanted to share that energy. I was just like, where are we going with this? And then again, like, when it comes to confrontation, my face goes to a big smile first. So I know it was irritating her, and then she cussed me out. I did laugh my head off because I was like, I can't get to that level. I was like, all I said was good morning. And then my ex, he was just like, yeah, welcome to London. And there was like a rhetoric thing where, especially when me and Fiona would go out, we would get a lot of compliments and, oh, you two are so friendly and welcoming, and you know, like other women in London aren't really like that. And at first I didn't really get it. I didn't get it until after being here for so many years and just like, oh, okay, I get it. But yeah, even up until this day, because I was in London for 15 years. I've moved back down to Nottingham now, but it's yeah. Well, you know what I mean.
Just checking.
You know what I mean.
Somebody in here might not know. And they might end up in Dover.
Hops.
I know.
Hops
I
are
wanted to say down,
It's
so
hops, it's
don't
hops.
correct me, Ryan.
I'm sorry. So she's still laughing. Even when she's wrong, she's laughing.
I know, even though I'm wrong, I'm right. But yeah, but it is something that I guess like I've never fully understood. I'm not saying that I've never been met with hostility in Nottingham, because I sure have. But it's, I don't know, like,
Not for saying good morning.
not really saying good morning. It's when another woman's walking by, and I could be I'm looking at her with a big grin because I'm like, oh, she looks good, and I'm like, and I even say to some women and even to some men, like, oh, you're looking good. Do you know what I mean? There's nothing wrong with giving people compliments, and I think, like, I'm a believer that the more I do that, I'm not saying like you need to give me one because I already know I look good,
I'll make my own sounds. But I hear what you're saying. I've actually said to a woman before, I'm not trying to get with you, I'm not trying to hit with you, but I'm just letting you know that you look good. You have to put that bit before.
Yeah, you know. But yeah, so I have been met with that hostility with the stare, and it's like the stare off. And when someone stares at me, and I stare back, and then they keep on staring, so I'm going to stare back. Because I'm waiting for the conclusion, like, where are we going with this? And there have been times when I'll just
Smile, man. You killed him with
I'll
kindness.
smile.
Killed him with kindness.
I know, yeah, kill them with kindness, but you know, with that kindness, I'll stand there and I'll be like, because I'm waiting for the conclusion, where we're going with this. Like, I don't want the confrontation, it doesn't need to go there, but if I'm smiling at you, I don't know why I'm being met with like a look of like literally you want to kill me or do something bad to me or say something like I've done something to you in the past. But yeah, I've mainly experienced that with women.
I'm going to throw you a curveball.
It's your past life.
I'm going to throw you a curveball, right? In this day,
I was still standing.
in this day and age, with what's going on, lots of transitioning and transition out and in and out, could it be that the females that are looking back at you vex, think that you're trying to hit on them?
Huh? What?
Could it be that a female that you're looking and smiling at could think that you're trying to hit on her and she's not interested?
No, but she
never
said that it's
thought
the
about
person that's staring at her.
Yeah, they started to stare.
And
So
they're
they're
trying
trying to hit on me.
Maybe they're trying to get you guys. Maybe they're looking all that
How do you know who started looking at who first?
That's only happened to me once. That's only happened to me once, where there was a stare out, and remember, I don't know if you'll remember. Sorry, someone got the mic.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's only happened to me once, where someone was staring at me, and you were there. Alana, can you remember in Jamaica? When that woman when we went into the store and then she was staring, and then it turned out that she liked me, and I was just like, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm just being friendly. I'm good. So that's the only time I experienced it. But other than that, it's like confrontation. Do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, it's bare confrontation. I'm like, why?
Lady with the mic.
Oh, okay. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
All I really wanted to say is I find in a lot of these situations, whether it's males or females, what's missing is emotional intelligence. Okay? I don't know what it is, but I've noticed lately that people are just angry.
Yeah.
You know, you're walking down the street and you can feel it coming off them.
Yeah.
And you don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
You know, don't even look at them, but you can feel the anger coming off them. Quite often I get the situation you talk about other women just screw me. And usually what I do, I smile at them.
Yeah.
Or I say, like you, I might say, oh, you've got a really nice dress on. They haven't. But it helps.
They're not even wearing a dress.
Diffuse the situation. It helps to diffuse it. I've done it loads of times, and I know it's a bit insincere, but it usually does break down barriers. And as soon as you say, your hair looks nice, your shoes look nice, your necklace looks nice, I say, oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And then we're smiling.
Yeah.
But another point you made about walking down the street and greeting people, I don't really do that. But people greet me, and most often they are white people. And it might be someone I see at the bus stop in the morning. I don't know them, but they'll always say morning. I'll always say morning as well. Okay? And sometimes I'll just initiate the morning. It doesn't cost us anything. But going back to my point, it is about emotional intelligence. And it's something that we need to teach our children. Because school is not going to teach it to them. So all this thing about walking around and screwing each other, and whether you nod or you don't nod, should be irrelevant. But we know it's not. And also take the point that someone said about the food that we're eating. How many times do you go past a chicken and chip shop? And who's in there? Young black people.
We're making them people rich, brother.
We're making them rich.
We're making them rich.
Do we question what's in that chicken? What's in KFC? What chemicals are they putting in there to make them... You know, you can actually alter someone's brainwaves with chemicals. And I know that's going deep, but we need to look at what we are eating, what we're consuming, and the consumption as well is social media and the things that are being put out there to your children. When I was growing up, we didn't know what computers were, we didn't have iPads, we didn't have any of that.
So, what was it that actually brought you onto this subject? What video did you see, or something on social media?
Life. Everyday life, like what's going on with you, like what have you been experiencing recently, or what are you experiencing on a regular, you know? And that was one of the topics. It's like, yeah, we experience this a lot, and in all honesty, we're trying to do our best to try and find a solution, but it's bloody well hard. Like, what is the solution of, because there's so many layers, you know? There's so many layers, there's so many different areas. Where do we even start? How do we start it? I think is it part of, like, should I just, like, part of the solution is I continue to smile? You know, I don't know. I don't know.
I think it's also our upbringing and how we're actually just socialized in terms of with our parents and how we're spoken to and all of that kind of stuff. Something you said reminded me of something someone else said to me, that back in slavery days, when it came to who does the work, it was the best workers, and so some of our the parents would kind of chastise the work, the people. Talking about the English language. So the best workers, the parents would chastise them so that they wouldn't actually be chosen, and that's actually been brought throughout our generations. Like, we're not always uplifted with our things that we love or the things that we have passions for. We're not really uplifted in actually being encouraged to do it, and also just in terms of how we speak. It's a trauma. It's definitely a trauma. It's an intrinsic trauma that has been happening. So it's how we speak to ourselves as families first, before we actually take it out, and how we are with people. And like we were just saying, in terms of with women, and it is like a competition.
Yeah.
It is. If I'm thinking about it, I could be in the midst. Now I'm alright. I'm good to go. You're my sister. You're my sister. It's all good. Back in the day, though, thinking about it now, if I was in the midst of potentially non-melanation, and there was one maybe melanated woman, it will be in my mind that there is one, but not in a way like let's come together. It's like, if it's like a job or something, she is my competition. Do you know what I mean? So now, like I said, I'm good to go. Listen, I'm gonna put your crown on as well as you put my crown on. But then it is something. When you said it's made me remember there has been that thing there, and yeah. So that's all I wanted to say.
What I would like to say, Naomi and Fiona, is thank you for bringing this conversation to the
You're
forefront.
welcome.
You're most welcome.
Because I think what we need to ask ourselves is, why are we such a big threat in society? Every other race recognises who we are, our skills, our talent, our strength, and the only people that do not recognise it is ourselves.
Yep.
Men and women. And that's the reason why we're such a big threat in society. That is the reason why we get such a big fight from a very, very young age. And when you're going through that continuously from a very young age right up into your adult age, it does become trauma, PTSD, stress, depression. We even bring it into our relationships, our intimate relationships, and then it goes down into generations. Hence why we are where we are today. Yeah, so I think what it is, it's having that self-awareness, looking inside ourselves and not being scared to look inside ourselves. That is the only way that we will heal, because it is a lot about healing. I think each one of us in some type of way, regardless of what kind of upbringing, whether it's a two-parent family or one-parent family, I think we need to steer away from the stigma about single-parent families and downtrodden, whether it's a woman on her own bringing up a man and it's the woman's fault. That's the reason why the child has turned out that way, and so on and so forth. I think each one of us, regardless of what walk of life that we come from, have been trying our best with what we have. Yeah, because from the beginning, from the time that we're born, we don't stand on the same footing as our white, Asian counterparts, and that's something that we need to recognise. Yeah, so everyone else recognises who we are. That's the reason why everywhere you go, whether it's school, college, work, you are always a threat, whether you are male or female.
100. Absolutely.
There's so many studies that have been based on us. There's many other people that know us better than we know ourselves, our history and the things that we used to do. Do you know what I mean? They know more about our history than we know ourselves. It's been taught to others so that they have a better understanding of us, but then it's been taught out of us. Do you know what I mean? So it's like we're being drained, and then what we're being drained of is being given to other people to benefit, basically.
It's also remembering that our history didn't start as
Yeah,
slavery.
exactly. Didn't start more than that.
So when I'm saying that, I'm not even talking about slavery.
Sorry, I know you're not. I know that you're not starting at slavery. But like I said, I went to primary school in both the UK and in the Caribbean.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Did you go to primary school here?
Yeah, I went. Yeah.
Okay. So in terms of Black history, what were you taught? Because my youngest son is 25 years old. Yeah. So we're the old school peeps.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, we're old school. My youngest son is 25. So I'm asking you, what were you taught? In terms of your as Black history?
Slavery. It was slavery that we did, and it was probably one lesson.
Yeah.
1 hour lesson.
In terms of Black history for me, that was taught at home, but when it comes to actual school, it wasn't until I went to secondary school, and there was a specific Black tutor. He was amazing.
Yeah.
But then we would have to give up our lunch, like the hour of lunch, to do this class. And even though I think I was told it was going on for quite a few years, but then in my first year, I think I probably only went to about 5 or 6 sessions, and then they dropped it because a white girl wanted to come to the class, and the school shut it down.
Okay. What I'm happy to hear out of all of what you said, the most poignant thing that you said was that at home, we will talk. We need to take responsibility of our children's knowledge. Don't look to your oppressor to teach you about who you are. Okay? One of my sons that is 29, yeah?
Same age as me.
Why did you say, what does that mean?
I'm just saying.
Okay. Yeah, I take the compliment. Thank you very much. Okay, can we get back to the topic? I'll give you the mic later. As I was saying, he was shown roots. Yeah, he was shown roots. That was his history. Yeah, in his school.
Oh really?
Yeah, roots.
Yeah, they did that.
And then you came home and said, "Oh, I didn't know OJ was in Roots."
Who?
OJ Simpson was in Roots. Yeah. That was it. Yeah, he was. Yeah.
Was he?
Yeah. So my thing is though, I had books at home, so they knew differently, and so on. So we have very open conversations. I think what it is culturally as well, and you know, love the generations before us, and so on and so forth. There was a lot of, you know, children had to be seen and not heard. So a lot of children had that fear. They were experiencing things outside and didn't feel that they were able to talk to their parents about certain things and so forth. Because I experienced that myself, that wasn't something that was allowed in my household. From the moment we got through the door, we all asked each other, how was your day?
Yeah.
What happened today? So I spoke about work to them, they spoke about school. Not that I put everything on them, but we showed that care to each other. And so throughout their teenage years and their adult years, they've always come to me. Even if someone's come to them on the street and someone's given them a look, they've gone to both me and their dad. Yeah, we've gone to both me and their dad and said, you know what, this is what's going on, I'm scared or I'm worried, and so on and so forth. Okay. So it's about having that open communication as well.
Yeah. So you know what you're saying, that the word solution came to mind. As you're saying that, because if we do that more, asking each other, how are you doing? How's your day been? Or just, how are you? Without without being angry, and then without the expectation for someone to come back with, you know, I'm good. Because
and I think especially even each other, I think we need to ask the younger generation as well, how was your day? How are you doing?
The question, how are you, as well, you have to ask it twice.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah,
because the first response.
Yeah, because a lot of people say, yeah, I'm alright.
The first response is always, I'm good, I'm fine, yeah, I'm cool. So you do have to ask again. Do you know what I mean? Without that kind of like being intrusive, but yeah, you do have to ask that question twice. But yeah, going back to what you were just saying, like, definitely to ask the question to the younger generation. However, just on an open scale, like to be asking every single one of us, regardless of age, because if we're going to talk about trauma, how much trauma has been trickled down to us from the elders that they did not chat about, you know? So I don't know, like, what kind of answer would you potentially get going to an elder and asking, like, how are you? You know? Or to
if it was my grandma, she said, mind your business, none of you don't want to tell you nothing. Not being funny, but that's the response I would get. They don't want to talk, none of your business. Why ask me a question if I go sit down, shut them out? That's the response. That's the response from some elders. You go to them to ask them something, they shut you down. Oh, okay. So then what am I meant to do with that? Exactly.
Potentially that's what they saw as well.
And it's like this lady said here, what she does with her children. Ask them how they're doing, teaching them from in their home. That's what we need to be doing, I feel. Like you said, take accountability. Don't wait for that person to teach our children. We teach them, each one teach one.
You can tell when someone's asking you and they just want you to wrap it up. They want you to wrap it up. They don't want no long answer, no long explanation. All they want is one word. Yeah. Yes. Are you okay? Yes.
They're not really interested if you're okay.
Yeah, they're not bothered. That's just the little intro so that they can go back to chatting about themselves and what's going on with them. You know? But yeah, so it's like asking those questions, but then asking that question being sincere. But if you don't feel sincere, don't ask the blasted question. If you don't really want to know how someone's doing, don't go and ask them.
That's why you prepared for their answer.
Yeah, just say hello.
Into each other, things like this, open conversations, not being afraid or scared to speak to each other, have open conversation. Don't shut someone down just because you don't agree with what they're saying. Listen to what they're saying. Be quiet and listen, because what they're saying to you could be something very valuable. But if you're ready to pounce before they've even finished, you're not really listening to what they're saying. And I think as black people, we do that a lot. We're ready. Someone says, "No, I don't agree." Actually, let me finish. let me finish, please.
Hopefully, as generations go on, it will change. I know my son will vouch for me here. I do have conversations with him. I always have done. I work with young people a lot, so it's you can have it in a minute. But
whatever you say, she can't beat you.
I work with young people a lot, so I do kind of have those kind of conversations and talk to them about it, and I do express the importance of speaking up and being honest, because if you're not honest about what's going on for you, you can't work through those thoughts and feelings. You've got to go through it to get to the other end. So, have you got anything to say, Sam?
Yes, he
does. No, I definitely agree with saying that we're currently in the shift. Definitely agree with that. And I also feel like you have to know how to approach a situation. Because in the past, like for example, I know my mom all the time saying you don't listen and stuff like that. But it's like, I'll use example. I don't have kids, but I got my little brother, for example. And even with him, whenever it comes to issues, he'll always come to me over that. My dad, my sister, his own mom, and I ask him, why did you come to me out of everybody? Bearing in mind, I don't even really speak, we don't speak as much. But the one thing from the moment he could open his mouth, he always said to me, you was the only person that actually sat down and listened to what I was trying to tell you, instead of shutting the ideas that I'm trying to give you down. Whereas as much as I love my dad, there's times where he'll be asking questions like, okay, I've had enough, man, stop talking. I'm done for today. Whereas me, I'm kind of like, what's on your mind? If it gets a bit too much, I'll be like, look, give me a few minutes and then we can go back to that conversation. But I feel like, especially going forward, people have to know how to approach this properly, especially with the younger generation. People like us, Free's age, we're like the first generation of social media, everything. These guys now are going to see what we're doing and now they're going to take and learn from it, or they're just going to be as reckless as we were with it. So I definitely think you've got to know how to handle that for the next generation, because if we don't start teaching them, it's only going to become an endless cycle of the same thing.
Yeah.
That's all I really want to say to that.
Adding to that, I also think our parents need to also understand that this generation coming after us, like the younger 14-year-olds, because I have a sister who's 14, it's a whole different situation.
Yeah.
You need to talk to them different, you know, because you guys grew up different. I'm not saying this. But yeah, everything my parents is different. Like the way they grew me up, I'm 23, is completely different from the way they should be growing up the next generation. Just because they could have used fear back in the day to kind of scare you to do things and all of that, but it's not the same for these youngsters. They don't care.
Yeah, they don't.
They generally don't care, and it's, you just need to use a whole different way of communication. And yeah, that's what I would say.
That's true. The younger they don't fear.
Okay, so I agree with both the young man and the young lady. there. I mean, if we think of a grenade and its mechanism, grenade has a plug. Okay, when you pull that plug, what happens?
Blows up.
It blows up. Okay, and whatever's inside that grenade has been held inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when you've got someone that's holding something inside for so long, and they don't feel that they're able to actually express it the way that they need to, or they've got that safe place even to express it, because not only that, young person could be wanting to express it. Someone says to them, all right, what is it that you want to say? And the moment that they actually say what it is that they've got to say, they're shut down straight away. Okay? They're going to go and vent and rant somewhere else. It doesn't have to do with that person that they're going to go and vent on. They're just going to take it out, and that's their only avenue of actually letting out the emotion that they've actually got inside. We need to listen. And when I say listen, not listen to give a rebuttal, listen to understand. Yeah? Conflict resolution, emotional intelligence, all of those things. We need to listen, because there's not enough of that that's actually going on. They don't have that forum to actually do that, and unfortunately it's starting from a school age and going into adult age. Yeah, so a lot of trauma that's out there. So the cutting eye, the kissing teeth, you know, the blowing up, the road rage, all of it, it's coming from that. And you know what, everyone's got a conscience out there, and I know 9 times out of 10 when somebody's actually reacting like that, but they've gone away and they've thought about it, but it's too late. It's too late, you've done it now.
Message on Instagram, Nats4795 says, I usually ask my son, what's the best thing that happened today and how did it make you feel, instead of how was your day, as his answer is much more detailed.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Yeah, what's the best thing? I like that.
So the question again, other than saying hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, checking on people, asking them how they are, what's the best thing that's happened today, what else could we do with each other to provide, show love? I've got an idea in my head, but I don't want to put it out there yet.
The other thing that I do is I give compliments. I just said earlier, I'll freely give compliments, and find something pretty or nice on someone, or even, just give a compliment. Like, I don't find it hard to do that. I find it very, very easy to do that. And it puts an instant smile on the person's face,
Is it always a genuine compliment? Like, you got a nice dress on, but you got jeans and trainers on? No, seriously.
No, it's genuine.
It's genuine. It's serious. It could be a compliment, like the lady said earlier on, to diffuse the situation.
Yeah. Well, no, that's diffusing the situation, right? That's diffusing the situation, and then when someone is trying to meet you with some conflict, and then you give a compliment, and then it's just like, oh, I'm not actually wearing that. Do you know what I mean? You're switching up the head. That's different. But on a different note, giving a compliment, it's genuine. It's genuine. Like, and I'm like, oh, you're. The amount of times I've gone up to a woman, like mainly women, because I won't do it with men, but like, oh my gosh, you're gorgeous. But there's so many times I've seen a black woman, or even any woman, and it's been like, you're so beautiful. Stop.
Why would you not do it with a man?
Well, I'll give a compliment to a guy, but not the same way that I would with a woman, because there's times when I'm like, oh my gosh, you're gorgeous. If I go to a man and be like, you're gorgeous, he's going to be thinking I'm trying to get with him, or, do you know what I mean? And it's just like, nah. And I'm not trying to look desperate.
You can underpin it with the compliment I said earlier. You can say, look, I'm not trying to get with you, however. It can be done.
However, you have nice eyes.
No,
one compliment men sometimes how they look, how they dress, your blood, that's nice.
That looks good. Like your setup is nice. Like, you look good. Have a good day.
I'll just say, some people don't know how to behave. they're not used to the compliment, they're not used to that interaction, they are used to just the confrontation.
They don't know how to take compliment.
Yeah, so they don't know how to act. For instance, I was at work today and I'm sitting there and I'm, you know, this person comes up with their child and I'm like, hi, you know, have you come to see today? Da, da, da. Come see them. I'm like, sorry, I couldn't hear you. Do you want to say, da, da, da. You know, and I'm like, damn, I'm like, okay, I need to check because I need to contact this person. I was like, okay, that's fine, thank you, go sit down, take a seat. So she left, her son went through, she left the building, she came back. When she came back, because I treated her the way I treated her, she was like, hi, so my son has gone through, da, 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 da. I was like, see you, Rachel, because I treated you in a way that you should have come, you understand? Because what are you showing your child as well? He's a young boy, probably like 8, 9 years old, and you're reacting to me like you've got a problem with me, but you've just seen me. This is first thing in the morning, you know? You need to fix up. Do you know what I mean? And that is how his child's gonna see things, you know? But it comes back to when we're talking about, someone was talking about, we don't have the elders there to correct us. We don't. Because if you've got a grandma that's gonna be 35, 40 years old, you know, and she doesn't know how to deal with the situation, because obviously she's already feeling it because she's under the pressure. We don't have old aunties. Nobody says that the neighbour next door who you've known for 30 years or 20 years, you treat as auntie because you've known her, you have that respect. You know, you'll have a lot of, you can't talk to my child like that. Don't talk to my child like that in front of the child. And that's when they lose the respect for you. You know, because they're going to say, well, no adult can talk to me like that because my mum said or my dad said you can't talk to me like that. You know, so I think that's lost as well. A lot of that is lost along the way. No more grandmas and big mamas and, you know.
Yeah, that's true. Those days of like being scared of an elder senior ramping down the street, those days are gone.
Yeah, the fear of, like the gentleman said, the fear of when you're walking in the city centre and you're afraid you see someone, you know, let me fix up your neck. I know there was times when I was young, I was in the city centre with my friends, happily. By the time I reached home, my mum was telling me, my ears saying it loud up in a town and I shouting, what? I remember doing this, I remember, you see, you can't walk, me know everybody. You see, when I go to them, something, you keep them all quiet. I'm like, what I was doing was in town, I was laughing, I went to the shop. I was like, who did see me? No mind yourself, no bother mind yourself, you don't need to know it was, no bother. That is gone.
And another thing, sorry, I'm just going to raise one more point. I remember being at school, and if I was in my uniform, okay, from getting on the bus, leaving school, because I'm not from London either, I'm from West Country. So getting on the bus, leaving school, the bus driver had any complaints about anyone on that bus, it's going back to the school and it's going to your parents. You reach in town, like you said, you're in your uniform, you are representing that community of your school. If you're doing something that's out of order, it's going back. But you don't get any of that. You don't get any of that, you know, these days. You just don't get it. So that's lost as well.
How do we bring it back? Have we gone too far to bring it back? Can it be brought back?
I do feel that every child wants guidance. And I think that's what a lot of people are actually crying for. And it's not just children as well as adults. Yeah, there's a lot of adults that are actually suffering as well. I do feel a lot of what you were saying about those of you that have lived outside of London, a lot of those values were in London. Yeah, me originally coming from South London, born and bred there, we had all of those values as well. I think what happened with, over the years, with the change of government, a lot of things that were put aside, I'm not going to get political or anything like that, but a lot of that was, I wouldn't say necessarily taken away from parents, because it wasn't taken away from my household, but I think a lot of people became fearful of, you know, sticking to certain discipline within the household. I'm not saying that you need to touch your child to actually discipline them neither, but it's been consistent. And that's what I think a lot of households are lacking. Consistency. A no is a no. Yeah, because every child, we all did it. We all tried to push the boundaries. Yeah, but if you're gonna kind of say no, and then they come back a second time and say, all right then. Or if dad says something, and then mum goes against what dad says, that's the next thing that's wrong again. I do believe that regardless of whether you're together or not together, you might not agree with what the father says. However, you don't do it in front of the child. You go to the side and say to him, you know what, we could have dealt with that a bit differently, but that child needs to know that mum and dad is together, irrespective. So I think there's a lot of values and principles that have gone, and the lack of consistency, egos, all of that has got involved. Yeah, and it all comes back again, emotional intelligence. Yeah, I think as a people, we react to things too emotionally, and that's the reason why we are pawns in a lot of situations. And I think we need to learn the game of chess, because that is what the life where we are actually dealing with right now. That's the reason why we're treated like pawns in life.
Definitely agree with that, especially the bit where you were saying how we act affirmation, which I think is 100% true. So a lot of the stuff sometimes that we're presented with by other people, because they know we're going to firstly act off emotion, that's what we do. And a lot of that stuff is just said to blindsided from what really is happening. You're prodded. And that's blindsiding us from what we need to be doing. So we stop what we're doing and we're acting off our emotions for what they're putting in front of us.
And then making the wrong decisions.
Exactly. Affirmation.
Because then when we're out of that emotional state, and then we look back and we look at the consequences of the decisions that we've made, and then we're like, how the hell did that happen? How was that person in power? How did we get here? How can that happen? It's just like, because
everyone else knows it but us.
Right.
That's the reason why.
Right.
They know what buttons to press.
Right. And then going back to, as you were saying earlier, that others are being taught about us and we're being untaught. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're still left with those triggers, but we don't know why the hell we have those triggers. You know, why these things are censoring us off or whatever, you know?
The mind is powerful.
Yeah, it really, 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 definitely.
Yes, brother.
100%.
Basically, triggers, but I would always say it starts with love from our ancestors. You know, people hear it, they don't want to hear it, but you know, our ancestors. You're saying to speak up, the mic goes in, it goes out, and I don't want to shout, and then you're not here, no one's hearing you. So let's be polite. Yeah, because it's all. I'll keep it. But it might go, I'm gonna say. So basically what I'm saying is that, you know, our ancestors, you know, regardless of what they went through, 3 times through slavery, they showed love to each other. You know, we look at the chain gang and how they connected to all the different parts of the country and came together underground. You couldn't do that if there wasn't love. And, you know, we ask ourselves, you know, but the solutions are already within us. So we have to go back to, as people said, to the traditions that we were doing before, showing love to each other. Even if the other person is, you know, negative towards you, you show them love, as you said, it's a trigger with a trigger. You know, the triggers have been set through racism. This is why we react in the react, We control the fear. We have to deprogram what we've been deprogrammed. Understand what racism does to us, mentally, physically, spiritually, and that's the key, you know? And when we learn to love ourselves, as we show love in this room, then that's the way forward, you know? So we have the keys, we have to go back to the basics. You know, it's not easy, but we do, because you know what we're doing? Reprogram it, as you said. Retrigger it. Yes. Stop with love, no matter what. Even if the woman burn you, thank you. If the man burn you, thank you. Deal with the heathen, as you said, come again.
Okay, so I am late, I apologize. But
black people.
But I've been trying to follow the conversation, so I'm gonna now try and make an input. So I must say, a major thing that I think is a problem is where you have a black man, a black father having a lot of kids. Automatically having a lot of kids with different women, you automatically create these single females family of them trying to raise a child, because the man has to be committed to someone, and the man potentially tends not to be committed to all the women that they tend to have children with. And that creates, number one, a major problem. Now, number two, that creates a level of argument or contention or anger. The child tends to take these anger on, because the child most of the time wants to protect the mom. And what tends to happen, the child becomes angry, they go out on the street, they form lower families, they form gangs, they form all of these different things. And the anger moves on. When you look at if most of these stuff is lacking on where they're seeing all of these platforms and where they're feeling that they have a family within gangs because the gang or the guys are showing them love and giving them money. And even when they go home to their moms, the mom don't ask them where they get things from. And the mom is acting like they really don't know where they get things from. That's a major thing. So with me saying this, I'm from a family where my mom and dad, for married 40 years, I've never actually heard them argue at all. I've never heard an argument from them. And as a result, I grew up not realizing that you have all of these contentions and arguments and everything else. But most of these stuff do happen. So it goes back down to the parents themselves removing the contention and always supporting the child, showing empathy, loves and everything else. But most of the time the mom is taking the anger out on the son or the daughter, and the daughter wonder, why am I being overbeaten for something that they also don't understand. And these are where we need to come back to, where to keep the family together, and it's the parents have the accountability to be responsible for their child, and the school also have the accountability, and the parents have the accountability to ask the school what they're teaching, which there's a lot of stuff coming out in schools. So right now we are constantly losing control, but because we don't also have other black parents within schools that understand these concepts, that's also portrayed within school, within government, and within society. So where we're talking about this level of blackness, if we don't have the leadership of this blackness out there, it doesn't matter what the parents is doing, that influence, peer pressure and everything else will get your child, regardless of what you're doing within your house. And you'll be thinking, I didn't know my child was stealing, they're in gangs, they're selling this. We as parents have to step up and infiltrate within schools, governments and everywhere else to help other person's kids, because you will help someone's child and someone will help your child. And that's what we have to do. Sometimes you can't help your child because your child will not listen to you.
I think one of the things that I would say is in regards to what you said with black parents being more involved in school, is that someone did say to me a few years ago, is that when it comes to school, she says, when it comes to school governors, there's no black representation. There's parents aren't stepping up to be governors in school. It says, really, that's what they should be doing, so they know at least they know what's going on in the school. Because if you don't know what's going on in the school, you really haven't got this. If there's a black parent on the government, at least we've got a voice for our children, and they can then say something. But I think we, like you said, have that representation in the school as far as governing bodies, be on the governing board of that school.
And I think you're right.
At least that is a little way in there.
And I agree, and the issues with schools and how they treat our children as well is very important to have representation. You probably don't remember, but I used to be on, when he was in primary school, I used to be on his parent governor. So when you probably about, I mean, I was young, but when he was like 7, I was about 26. So I was not only probably like the youngest parent governor, I was also the only black woman there. But they also, your children, it offers your children to a level of protection. They will not mess with your children if you're on that governing board. Not saying that that's the reason to do it, but you definitely need more representation for when certain things are brought up that you can actually step in and say, hold on a minute, that ain't right. Because one of the things I remember noticing, children, especially from black and ethnic backgrounds, there was always this kind of stereotype that they would be on free school dinners, and if they were on free school dinners, there was this assumption that they were problem children that needed to be controlled. So, you know, I was able to kind of say my piece, you know, as young as I was at the time, I still made sure I spoke up, because to me that's just wrong. You can't be just, you know, labelling a child because of, you know, their background that's beyond their control, you know. So I agree in terms of having representation at all levels. It's really, really important.
Can I ask, what do you think is stopping parents? Because when you were in that situation, you were doing that. Did you speak to other parents?
Do you know, it's quite a while ago now. I mean, for me, I just saw it in the school newsletter, and I was like, I'm going to do it. And I had a friend of mine as well at her children's school. She was also a parent governor at her children's school. But I think that also for me, when I was in primary school, my mum did it briefly as well, so I was able to see that. So I think I kind of had that. Grandma did it. I don't even know what grandma did it when I was in primary school. So I was able to see that. So I was able to put myself forward for it, and I wrote my manifesto and stuff. And I think at the time, I think I was doing my degree as well. So I kind of had that a level of understanding of the benefits of being in that position, because it was part of my studies as well. So but it feeds back to that thing, if you see it, then you can imagine it and then move forward and do it.
In the beginning you was talking about, do we love each other and stuff like that. So what my question is how do we implement that change with the younger generation today with all this individualism? Because we've lost what do you call it, the whole village kind of mentality that we used to have. So how do we kind of push that onto the children that are consumed by all these things on social media? Everything's based around individualism. No one cares about each other. Like for example, like I was talking about earlier, if we see a black brother on the street, he's looking at us like saying, you know what I mean? Like he wants something, you know what I'm saying? So how do we change that mindset to, okay, back in the day we might look at somebody like, okay, with concern, you know what I'm saying? Like, all right, for example, if back in the day, if you seen a black person getting arrested or getting harassed by the police, we're all trying to stop and help them, see what's going on. Now, everyone's taking out their phone, you know, business, you know what I mean? And it's just like, they take out their phone to hopefully. No, but sometimes they're not though. Sometimes they're just being nosy and just being false. And you can hear them laughing in the background, you can hear, you know what I mean? There's no general concern a lot of the times. You can hear madness. It's just like sometimes when one of the youth might get killed by each other. Sometimes you get parents, they don't really business as long as it's nothing to do with their child. You know what I'm saying? Where before, it was like the whole, I remember if something happened in Nottingham, everybody felt it. Because this parent knew this parent. It just felt heavy on everybody, you know what I'm saying? But now no one cares as long as it's not their child or somebody related to them. So how do we enforce that village mentality back onto the younger generation? What does it look like, basically?
I would say we need to start here with us and speaking, getting together, creating forums, having talks, setting things up little, but starting with us, speaking together, community, because I think that's what you're saying, that community, that village feel, that community, that unity. It's not there, like you said, we're just all individuals in the rat race doing our own thing, head forward, we're not bothered. That community, we've lost that community feeling. Even though, I joked about it before when I said I was in town and someone would run back to mum and tell her my business, and probably could tell her what me did nyam that afternoon. But that is community. These days, it's not there. It literally isn't there. We need to go back to basics. That's my solution. Go back to basics and listen. One with it, listen to each other. Don't be ready to shoot down that mother or shoot down that father. Listen to what they're saying, because everybody has a valid point. And we're all in that same situation, and we're all wanting to create a solution and a better place for our youth.
I guess starting with that conversation, that will filter out to the youngers. You know, so we don't just hold those conversations just with us, with adults, we have them with the younger generation.
Invite them in.
You know, and I guess like being welcoming when we see younger people as well, you know, the same that I would smile at a man or a woman, I smile at children as well, you know? And I smile at the parents to let them know I'm not trying to groom your child. I'm just I'm being friendly, you know? I'm being friendly.
And I think as well, for example, when you say you've got your child, you've got a friend that you know, say to this child, right, I know this person, so if ever you see them on the street, you show them respect and you say hello to
100,
them. Simple like that. Look at this face. Look at this person right here.
Sorry, putting into you. But like we're saying that because like, as the gentleman in the back was stated about how it's like we've gone from knowing each other to now we don't know who the hell people are. We can even be walking past family, we don't know because we don't talk, we don't integrate, we don't come together. We've become so divided. So yeah, those little conversations, building it up and being a lot more friendlier with one another, welcoming with one another. So then we can reason with one another, you know. It's just like baby steps. A hello today could turn into in a year, 2 years, like having a 5-minute conversation so you know who your next door neighbour is even, you know.
Okay, so we're trying to help our black people. I'm sitting on a board, international board, and throughout Europe, there's no black person on this board covering about 9 countries. You look at school, I sit on a board that have 8 schools, and there's no black person on this board. They've been calling for black persons to come forward. On the board, you have governors linking to 5 governors in each school, and there's no black governor on the board. How are we trying to help our black people, black children, when the parents are saying they're too busy because they're dealing with their child, but they're not taking the time out to actually get the voice out about how can we help our black people? This is the problem that we're having, and we're acting like we don't realize this is the problem that we're having.
I'll say my response to that is, if that's an area of work that you really want to expand on and you seem like, okay, more of us being in, like speaking and being in this area, well, maybe focusing on the marketing, on how it's being marketed, how it's being advertised to those parents to draw them in. Like, what are the different ways that you can draw in the parents? Because sometimes leaflets might be flying around, but they're not flying towards a black parent.
What I would say is, I wouldn't say marketing, I would say it's how you sell it to somebody. It's how you sell that product. It's a product. What's the USP? What is going to make that black parent want to be a governor on this governing body?
But then you think that's sad that it has to be salty.
I know, it isn't, but that's the saddest thing. Just like he said, you know why it's sad? Because what did he just say there? The parents, what are the parents saying? I'm too busy, I'm too busy, I'm too busy. And it's sad we have to do that. But I'm too busy. Why are you too busy to be caring about your child's education?
But also as well is how it can be accessed, because sometimes these meetings are very much, you have to travel down to a venue and everyone has to be there at a certain time. Not everyone can do that. So there needs to be, it's not accessible. It needs to be a variety of ways of being able to access, to be able to take part. So
Okay, sorry, and I'm cutting you because I know there's time. Most of these white boards, they're required to have a black representation on the board. I tried to resign and they constantly rejected my resignation. Now, I currently is linked to this governing board in Kent, and I said to them, I will join the meeting by Zoom. They now accept me joining, and I now even tell them I'm even more busy, and they call me, go through everything I'm taking, because they have to take the black voice. But we're not even coming forward.
No, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying.
What the criteria is. And none of us is because it's too much work.
Yeah,
It is work.
It is a lot of work.
But we have to do it.
No, but I hear what you're saying completely. I hear what you're saying. I think it's not one thing that's going to work. It's going to have to be a combination of things.
It's a combination
It's
of
almost like you need a
things.
collection of people to push one person forward, and then a collection again to push.
Sorry. Once again, I'd like to say thank you to you both for having this conversation today. There's a lot of valuable information that's come out today from a lot of people, especially what the man just said over there in regards to making an effort. It's not some other race's responsibility to fix us. It's our responsibility. Young man behind me said consumption. Now you asked the question is how can we fix this? How can we become a community? I don't know, most people in here are probably on Instagram or some kind of social media at the moment, and most of you probably have over 100, 200 followers. Okay, do you speak to 200 people a week? Is your social media your community? Those are questions that we need to ask ourselves. Okay, because we're asking ourselves, how do we form a community? But we've got so many people that we're following, and we've got so many people following us. What are you following them for? What are you getting from following them? What are they bringing to you? What kind of community are you trying to form? These are questions that we have to ask ourselves, and I think what it is, we're not asking ourselves the right questions, and we're not being held accountable for those things as well. We're not being held accountable, too complacent. Stop following people, be leaders. We are all leaders, we're all individuals, we are unique, and as a race, we are beautiful. Stop it.
Amen.
Stop it.
Amen. Yes.
Recognize our power, our beauty, and to start from within. So I guess like to love others, to love ourselves is to love ourselves. Also, it starts from within. It starts from within there. But thank you so much for everyone getting involved. Like it started off a little bit quiet, but we got there. So much was shared, and everything that each and one of you shared is valid, because there's no wrong or right answer. There's no wrong or right answer. So thank you. But yes, we are wrapping.
And I think for me, things like this are the start, and it's literally the beginning of the process. So like you said, it's all about love, it's all about communication, it's all about speaking. Like we said, this is the first half of the event that we're wrapping up. So we'd like to thank you all for contributing to the first half.
Give yourselves a round of applause.
Before we end the first half, like we said, we have two kings going to be doing some spoken word. So what we're going to do is invite them to the front here. They're going to do what they do. They're going to bless the mic with their spoken word poetry. After that, we'll take a little break, and then we'll reconvene where the cameras go off. And we go into part two. So let's welcome our kings to the stage. Come.
Hi, Mustafa. Do you want to hear what I'm tired of? Do you want to hear what puts me to sleep? Do you want to hear my perspective on this so-called beef? I'm tired of it, bro. I wish they would stop it all, please. Men are trash. Bees ain't ish. Men do that, women do this. Men fumble bad bees, women don't take accountability. Men stay cheating, women stay detaching emotionally before leaving physically. The same arguments that seem to last in eternity. Yes, we have our differences, and they can be acknowledged and discussed, but we also have to have the maturity to have these conversations without it turning into a verbal bust-up. Nowadays, all we seem to do is fight, cuss, shove one another into a box. A lot of people haven't had the experiences to make such claims. Some are just posting quotes from IG the moment they drop. No judgment, do what you want. But let me tell you why I want it all to stop. I don't want no parts of it anymore, because the words are just meaningless to me. A battle that continues on for what exactly? To separate us further apart for a temporary feeling that will impact both you and me. Looking at it from the outside really helps me see that what we need is some actual unity.
put love back out into the atmosphere? What's all this arguing and hating gonna bring? A repeated cycle of wounded individuals throwing out slurs they don't actually mean? Taking past situations and projecting them to the future? Wasn't we both looking to be a team? Progress was the key, yet losing that same objective seems to be what will continue to be. And until we get that unity, that camaraderie, it looks as if we'll never be able to coexist and or come together peacefully. When are we gonna realize that both sides of the coin are still part of the same coin? So let's stop behaving as if putting one another down will help anyone win. I'm done now, Mustafa. I've said all I've needed to say. Now's your time to take the stage. Bless everyone with your thoughts on the topic of today.
Yeah, I hear you, Steph. Here's what I've got to say. I think everyone needs to heal, then look within to see what's real. Because there's something inside that needs to be addressed. I don't know if it's heartbreak, heartache, or something underlying needs to get put to rest. This is unnecessary. All the arguments are childish and embarrassingly petty. Like, who pays on the first date? How old are we? But I don't think everything is as it seems. Like, images are being laid with illusions. Like, images are being portrayed with illusions being laid. And I think social media has a major part to play. Every player wants their turn on the board, and that creates conflict on both sides. Now she's questioning if she's the only one, and he's paranoid if there's a better one. Now he's a player and she's a hoe, but this all could have been avoided if they just communicated from the get-go. This whole gender war is pointless. I'm just picking up from where Steph left off. You made a lot of valid points, especially when you mentioned wounded individuals. No one wants to look into the mirror and face their own scars. They rather face each other to pick out the bigger mark, and that's where the beef war starts. But maybe if the focus was more on plastering each other's past, this conflict would never have escalated to these parts.
Thank you, thank you.
So
thank
before you guys go, before you leave, where can people find you on the old Tinternet? Or it will give us all your socials, please.
On the net, if anyone has Instagram, it's SHWTV99, or should I say 99, let me speak properly. If you have Twitter, it's SHW_TV. I have TikTok, but I barely use it, so I probably won't give that one out. So just SHWTV99 or SHWTV. Sorry, SHW_TV.
And for now, there's @Mustafa Juban on Instagram. Yeah, that's it.
Okay, people, if you want all the spellings and the correct, you can mingle them now.
Well done, guys. Thank you. Like we said, have a few moments, go to the bar, go to the latrine, wash your hand, come back, and we'll reconvene after the break. See you guys soon.
Live.
Yeah, yeah.
Melody in the full effect. Black is beautiful. Those are too close. Hey.